All right, good evening, guys. This is Justin and Alicia here.
Good evening.
Hope you're having a great night tonight. We're excited. We just got the kiddos in bed after a night of a little bit of slip out and do a little dancing earlier this evening. And so now we're excited to come and share with you a few thoughts of things that we've been thinking about and reading about. One of the things that I've really been enjoying here recently is just a lot of reading, and reading from other successful people and other people that you've all heard of, like Grant Cardone and Dean Graziosi, and some of the other ones, and those in particular, I've been reading their books right now, The Success Mindset, I think, and then also the 10X factor. That's just been awesome, and some of these concepts we're going to talk about tonight actually come from that, just from some of their thoughts, and then looking back in my life and different things that just make sense as I look back and say, wow, that's just so true.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about success. So Andrew, good to see you here, and Jason, good to see you guys. I know. What do you think of when you think of success? Let's think about, start right there. What is your concept of success? Is success possible? Have you ever experienced success? That's something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, I always had a wrong perspective of success. I almost felt like that for me, that success was something that, I wished for, I hoped for. It was like, maybe it'll happen if I work hard enough, or I get in the right circumstance, the right place, get the right people in my life or out of my life, or whatever it is. But, success is something that we have to grasp and realize the right perspective on it in order to actually achieve it, but also to actually enjoy it and appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
We may actually be experiencing success and not even know it. And that's one of the things that I think is interesting. So we're going to jump right into this thing. Hey, Donna and Marshall. Hope y'all are doing good. And Stephanie, thanks for joining us here tonight. We're talking about the secret of success. So there's 3 little points here we're going to briefly talk on. If you got any questions or any comments, we'd love to have you share those. And I don't know if we'll address them in our talk here, but we'll definitely address them afterwards in the comments and stuff. But the first thing that I've been realizing is that success is something that happens not to us, but something that happens because of us. Exactly. Success is something, I always had this concept that, it's something that happens to me after a while maybe, or if I'm in the right place, it happens to me. It's something I really can't control. And that's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. It's something that we feel like that we can't control. Mm-hmm. And that's why so many of us are so discouraged or angry or mad all the time. I'd say half or maybe more than half of our society, our culture of people, are people that are, quote, victims. They feel like that they can't gain or reach success because of, they have this upbringing, they have this, this place they live, this circumstance, this thing happened to them, they have this illness. And so they feel like they're doomed. And they feel like they're owed by other people that they say are successful. And that's the only way they're going to be successful, is if they can actually take from them. That's such a sad reality, a sad perspective. Because the reality is that success is something that happens because of us, because of our actions, because of our thoughts, because of our mindset, because of our perspective on life. I mean, we give other people so much power over us. It's amazing.
It's so true.
We give so many people so much credit over us in our lives. It's sad, Here's the thing, successful people have a very high level of accountability.
Right.
They take responsibility for their actions, for what goes around them, even if they weren't, quote, responsible. They still view it as, wow, this happened, I must have some part to play in this. I need to figure out what I need to do, how I need to respond, and how, why this happened. Mm-hmm. They don't sit there and just start blaming everyone else, right. Just give up and say there's nothing I can do.
They learn from it, they grow from it,
So here's the thing, if you give control to anyone else or another person for your success or your lack of success, then you're never going to be able to actually control your life and control yourself. And that's something I think that's so sad. That's one thing that we have been, I know personally, and Alicia, as we've been doing this journey together for the last 11 years, is we've been realizing that how much power we have in our thoughts, our mindset, our circumstances, and how we can, take any circumstance. I don't care if it's good, it's bad. We can, just by our perspective, by how we view it, how we tell ourselves we view it, we can change the whole feel of it and the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Hey, Julie, how you doing? And MA, good to see you here tonight.
Hey.
And stuff. So don't give control of your success or your failures to anyone else. Own them. Take responsibility for them. If something bad happens, don't even think about who else is involved. Just think about you and think about what you can do, what you should do, how you can use this as an opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that we've been having fun with the kids, is when we go through challenges, when we go through situations that are pushing, that are hard, we, instead of saying, I give up or complaining, we tell them to automatically say, I must be growing, or I'm growing right now. And so it's a whole new perspective that you can look at situations.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if you want to have success, that is a very important thing to keep in mind.
Because there will be ups and downs.
Yeah.
There will.
I mean, that's part of life. That's part of success. I mean,
Part of what we
the
talked
thing
about
is,
last week.
how do we determine when you're a success? Because there has to be a time when you're not succeeding, or when there's struggle, or when you're at a place where you haven't achieved where you want to achieve. So how do you know when you've reached that threshold of succeeding? You have to conquer something. You have to overcome something.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big concepts I've heard from a lot of these big motivational speakers and big thought leaders is that we want to create problems. If you're not creating problems, then you're not going to ever be able to keep achieving new levels. And that's another point we're going to talk about here towards the end, is success never stops. Once you reach a success, that's not going to last indefinitely forever, unless you continue to get to new levels and new levels of that. So think about the first point. Success is not something that happens to you, it's something that happens because of you. You have a big part to play in success, and so you need to own it. Don't be a victim in your circumstance. Own your life. Own what happens to you. I mean, whether you can take ownership of it or not, take ownership of it. If someone else did something to you, own whatever you can of that, because the only way you're going to actually be able to turn that into success. Otherwise, you are going to be a victim, and it's going to be a whole different outcome. So the second thing is that this is a powerful one. Success is not just something that you be haphazard with. Success actually is not a luxury. Success is a duty. And that's something that's hit me hard. This whole idea that success, maybe you didn't know, but being successful is actually your duty. You were created from the very beginning to be fruitful and multiply. You were created to succeed. I mean, God, when he created the heavens and the earth and created man, he said it is good on the sixth day. On the seventh, he rested. Why? Because he had succeeded. It was a success. It was beautiful. And so why do we have so many people, especially, honestly, not going to pick on the Christian crowd or religious crowd, so many of us have this mindset or this thought process that, I can't succeed, or I shouldn't succeed, there's no way I can succeed, or, we live in a fallen world, or does God want me to succeed? It's sinful to succeed. Why do I want to succeed and have stuff, or prosperity, or abundance? That seems sinful. That's such a bad perspective. Mm-hmm. I love the way Grant Cardone says in his 10X book. I highly recommend that book. But he said this: one of the greatest turning points in my life occurred when I stopped casually waiting for success and instead started to approach it as a duty, as an obligation and responsibility. He said, I literally began to see success as an ethical issue. A duty to my family, my company, and my future, rather than as something that may or may not happen to me. I mean, that's just
Isn't that powerful?
I mean, how many of you all see you being a success as something that you are obligated to be if you want to live out your calling, if you want to live out your full potential, if you want to actually achieve what you're created to achieve, you need to be a success. Julie said, I hate it when people say, oh, you got lucky. Mm-hmm. Success is not luck, it's hard work and struggle. Amen.
That's right.
I've heard, I've seen people that are successful say that, or the harder I work, the luckier I become. I mean, it's all connected. It's all we create our own luck.
Well, and sometimes you see these overnight success. What you don't see is all the background that led to that. So
yeah, and that's the tricky thing. People don't see all the struggle and all the stuff that you've had to overcome. The things you've had to take responsibility for and change your actions and use as a wake-up call or whatever in your life. So if you don't consider it your duty, here's the thing. If you don't have that concept that success is your duty, if you have the idea that it's just like take it or leave it, take it for granted, maybe I'll hit success along the way, maybe not, it's no big deal. The fact of the matter is that if you don't have the concept that success is your duty, you won't live up to your full potential. If it doesn't become an ethical issue to you, then you won't be obligated and driven to fulfill your destiny. And that's the reality, you know. It needs to become like a moral issue to you, something that you would die over, something that you have to do, something that you have, you can't help it. That
Hey, Mom.
And stuff. So, think about it. I've said before, you've probably heard me say this, that if you have the ability to be successful, if you have the ability to make money, to help other people, to create something, to invent, to build, or whatever it is, if you have an ability and you don't do it, or you don't think it's a good, if you don't think it's anybody cares, or you don't grasp that and really take it to its full potential and live that out, then I say you're being selfish. I mean, you are literally being selfish. Because whatever you're passionate about, whatever your vision is, whatever's in your mind, whatever you're excited about, whatever motivates you, whatever draws your attention, that's you. That's what you need to be successful in. You need to grasp it. You need to run with it. You need to be the best you can be, because that's you. It may not be someone else. Someone else may have their own passion, drive, gifting, skill, right?
Well, and people might miss out because God might have created you to do something that for, somebody else or whatever, and they're going to miss out. Your family, your friends, who knows when you don't live up to who God created you to be and being successful.
Exactly. So the first secret to success is not something that happens to you. It's something that happens because of you. Secondly, success is not a luxury. It is a duty. You are given a mission you need to succeed in. And then thirdly, success will stop when you stop. Now, when you do succeed, and this is a big one for me that I've seen, success does not last forever.
Right.
There's been so many times I've put the pedal to the metal and hit the ground running and fought and made things happen, and then I kick back and coast. And next thing you know, I'm right back in the same situation, or I find myself having to redo everything. And this is an important concept. Success does not last forever. You must go all in. You must be obsessed to succeed. It must be a mindset. Like I said, it must be your duty. It must be something that is part of you, that you have to succeed at everything you do all the time, not just sometimes at some things. Whatever you find yourself doing, you should do it your darndest. You should do whatever action necessary to succeed and be the best at that. Whatever.
Excellent.
And that's what it comes down to. And that's what actually it creates. It creates this winning mentality. And if you see a lot of successful rich people, I mean, honestly, I'll use Trump as an example. How many of us equate winning with Trump? You hear all the time, winning, winning, winning. He just has this because he's learned the secret. He's learned the secret of constantly bettering himself, constantly pushing himself, taking massive actions, not coasting, not sitting back and just riding with what he's done. He's always looking to better himself. And that becomes, it's a passion. And so because of that, everything he touches or gets involved in, he's able to achieve and overcome and win, because it's become who he is. He outthinks, he outmaneuvers, he outacts, he outthinks people in business, and that's how we need to be. And this is a very cool concept that I've been thinking about even this week. The whole concept that success, if you want to be successful, don't just compete in whatever arena you're in whatever field you're in whatever your job, in whatever your passion is. Don't just see yourself as a competitor, okay? Don't just see yourself as a competitor, but see yourself as someone there to dominate. Don't compete, but dominate. See, if you're just a competitor, then you're going to be pacing yourself with everyone else. You're going to be pacing yourself with others that have the same tendencies to want to speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. But if you pace yourself on yourself and on your passion, your drive, your willingness to take big actions, big steps, then honestly, you're going to leave the competition in the dust. And when you go to look back at them, then you're going to, that's what happens. You look back at them. And so then that delays you. You trip, you lose focus. Next thing you know, you're sliding back in line with everyone else, as opposed to dominating. And so don't just compete, dominate. Don't consider yourself as just a competitor in certain spaces, but tell yourself, I am the space. No one can keep up with me. That's the kind of mindset you want to have. Does it sound arrogant? Yes, it does sound arrogant. But guess what? That's what it takes to be successful. Not arrogant with other people, but you need to be arrogant with yourself. Because we need to have a kick in the pants. We need to have someone that's going to sit there and say, just like we need to tell ourselves we need to stop eating at a certain place, or we need to stop watching TV at a certain place, or when we get married, that's your woman. These different things in our life, and the same thing in our actions in our life. Tell ourselves, you're living your life, and so you must succeed. You must do whatever it takes to succeed. You must take whatever action it takes. And if you do that, and you sit there and compete with yourself, then it doesn't matter what anyone else in the world does or says.
Right.
And there's been so many successful people now, like Elon Musk is a great example of that, to where, he was like almost way ahead of his time, ahead of the curve, and so he got a lot of flack and all this stuff, but he just kept doing it anyway. And he failed and failed and failed and failed until, guess what? He hit it. He did hit it, became a success, and now, he was ahead of his time. And that's why we have the SpaceX and the different inventions he's invented, and that's why, he's now a leader in the business world and entrepreneur and stuff, because he didn't compare himself with other people. He compared himself with who he knew he was, what he knew he could do.
Yeah, that's right.
And so keep that in mind. We constantly are growing in our success, okay? And so our successes are going to grow. And that's what we have to keep in mind, even growing up. It's a success to actually not just crawl, but to be able to stand up and take a step. But then if we stop there, then, we're going to be quickly left behind. And we're not going to be able to get ahead. We're going to be passed up. But the next thing, we need to push ourselves to the next thing. The next step is then to take a step and walk, and then jog, and then run. It's a constant growing, dominating, conquering ourselves, conquering our limitations, conquering whatever it does. It is keeping us back from actually having, succeeded where we succeeded. And so don't ever just settle. I've seen this so many times in my life. In fact, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, we were sitting there talking, and we actually were having some issues arising, some struggles, or some things were like, how did we get to this position, this place? And we thought, and I asked Alicia, I said, okay, think back to when we felt like, or we knew we had succeeded and we're actually having success in our life. What were we doing? And the crazy thing is that we started looking at what we were doing, and we started looking at what we were doing now, and we weren't doing what we were doing then.
That's right.
And so guess what I started doing? I started kicking myself in the pants and kicking in and started doing the things I was doing then again. And guess what? All of a sudden I started seeing success happening. Things started happening. I started getting contracts, getting people, started locking in deals. I started getting money flowing again. And so it's a constant battle. It's a constant struggle. It's so easy for us to want to grow weary. And so, there are seasons and stuff, but let me tell you, even in those seasons, if you can get the mindset and you can get the high of winning and the high of, get that momentum going, then you're going to get to the place where that even when you're like on vacation, taking a break, there's some things you're just going to keep doing anyway.
Exactly.
Because you're going to see it's your duty. Mm-hmm. It's part of you. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that for myself, that the times that I go on vacation and just completely kick back and do nothing, throw everything out. I mean, some people throw their morals out, everything. That then it's like a complete having to restart and everything. There's some things you just don't throw out ever.
Mm-hmm. That really hit me this summer. John Maxwell, I got the opportunity to hear him live, and he was talking about he's an author, and so every single day he has 5 things that he does as an author. Mm-hmm. And when he's on vacation, he does those 5 things. When he's sick, he does those 5 things. Mm-hmm. On his anniversary, on his birthday, he does those 5 things. And it really hit me because I feel like, I'm always looking for, okay, I can slack off. Like, no, you keep doing it.
And maybe you're saying, oh crap, why are you telling me this? You're taking all the fun out of life. I work so hard all week so I can just cut back and do nothing on the weekends. Or I try to get through the 8-hour days so I can just kick back and just chill in the evening and do nothing. Well, let me tell you, if that's your mindset, if that's your mentality, then you're not going to be successful. Mm-hmm. You're not going to succeed. Yes, to a certain level in the competition world, you may be able to succeed a little bit.
Again, if you look at everybody else, you could compare yourself to everybody else.
If you compare yourself to other people, but if you compare yourself to you and your abilities, to what you know you can do, to what your purpose, your passion, what motivates you, then you have no one to blame. Mm-hmm. But also, you can experience the excitement of all the, being able to say, I did this, I hit this bottom and bounced so high, I hit the top. Whatever it is, you can just experience the whole potential of that and the whole feeling of that. It's just awesome. Mm-hmm. It's nothing like, look back and say, wow, look where we've come, and it excites you to keep looking forward, to keep pedaling more and going and keeping that going. Don't let it slow down. But you have to realize, how do we do that? I mean, how do we get to that place where we're willing to just keep going, when everyone else is stopping, when everyone else is chilling, when, maybe we're not seeing a lot of success right now, or maybe things aren't happening. I mean, that's the challenging part.
Right.
And that's the problem. And that's what separates the men from boys. That's what separates the average people from the winners. That's what separates the top 1% from the 99%, or the top 5% from the 95%. I mean, that's the difference. You're either going to be average, or you're going to do what other people won't do. That's what makes you successful. And if you look at all the great leaders in the past, in history, you're going to see the ones that stand out are the ones that are willing to do that. I think of George Washington. During the Revolutionary War, when he was willing to actually win on Christmas Eve, wasn't it? When all the rest of the opposing side were sitting there partying, thinking there's no way anyone would try to attack us. It's freezing cold out there. We're surrounded by the icy water with chunks of ice floating in it. It'd be suicide. And that's exactly what George Washington did. He got inside that boat and crossed across there, snuck across, and he attacked them and he won the night. Because he's willing to do what no one imagined that anyone would do in their sanity, which, what was their version of sanity? Who are they comparing that with? All the rest of the average losers, or people that were just content, that weren't living their full potential, or didn't really have a passion for what they were doing. And maybe that's what it comes down to. They didn't really have a passion for what they were there for.
Right.
See, Washington and his guys, they had a passion for why they were fighting. They had a passion for what they were wanting to achieve. And the rest was there because they were supposed to be there, because they were told to be there. Someone else was controlling their life. They'd rather not be there. They hadn't embraced the reason why they were there, and they don't have the mindset that even if I'm here and I don't want to, I'm going to win, because that's what I do. It's my duty. It's my duty to be a success.
Right.
And so anyways, for whatever it's worth, think about that. Think about, the secret of success is you. It's us. We're the wild card. Is our willingness to take big actions. Because the reality is, I want to say here that, where did it say that? Success takes big actions. Actions take responsibility. And you won't take responsibility if you're making excuses or blaming others. And that's one of the biggest points is, take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for where you're at, own it, and then you can take the credit and you can enjoy the success. And your success won't be determined by other people, other circumstances outside your control. It's going to be all about the actions you take when that happens, the thoughts you have, your perspective on it, and how you turn those things to actually accelerate you. And we'll wrap this up here, but I just love the examples of nature and how the laws of nature work with each other and work against each other. And the law of gravity, if it wasn't for the law of gravity pulling things down, then the law of aviation would never even work. But it's because that mankind has learned how to utilize the gravity force that could be a deathly force, and it is a deathly force if you don't have the right momentum, the right angles, the right vehicle, the right mindset, the right engineering, the right plane that can actually take that gravity force down and use it as a force to accelerate it up. And so that's what life is like. That's what the circumstances are like. But if you just sit there and blame that there's no way I can fly, there's no way I can get across the other continent, the ocean or whatever, because for one, gravity, I can't even get off the ground. I can jump over for a few seconds. There's no way I can use that to get across the water. Or whatever it is, But that's the only way you're going to overcome and succeed, if you own it. And say, okay, the reality is, yes, I'm human. I don't have a way of overcoming gravity, but I do have a way of building things. I do have a way of taking other things, from the earth and putting it together, engineering a vehicle, even engineering the other resources I have in my life to actually overcome this negative force and use it actually as an accelerator to accelerate me to where I want to go. So keep that and keep those just mental pictures in your mind as you face situations and struggles, and as you see yourself as maybe a victim, your success being held back or overcome by other people, and realize that, hey, it's your duty to succeed. No one can stop you from succeeding. In fact, a lot of times the harder they try, or the harder the circumstance against you, it makes you exceed even more and greater. And it makes you even look more spectacular when that happens. And so embrace it. Embrace it as a challenge to overcome. Don't look at it as a barrier that you're just going to give up.
Right.
Any other final thoughts on that?
Just, it's kind of interesting. When we were first married, I remember a scripture that really stood out to us was the parable of the talents. And this just keeps coming back to mind as you're talking, is, we're each given talents, and not to compare our talents with each other. Some were given more, some were given less, but it's what we do with those, and you were given your talents, you were given this duty to succeed, to be all that you were created to be, and so use that talent. Don't bury it, don't make excuses, don't let others take it. Use it wholeheartedly, completely, invest it, and go do it. So,
anyways,
it's your duty.
So we're excited to leave this with you. So let me just recap. Success is not something that happens to you. It's something that happens because of you. Success is not a luxury. It's your duty. And success will stop when you stop. So don't stop. So we're going to leave you all here tonight, but I just want to tell you that we're excited to provide some coaching opportunities at three different levels we're developing. We'll have the base level, we'll have the premium, has the base, the platinum, then the premium. And so, if you're interested in some coaching, the base level is going to be more like group coaching, a closed Facebook group, and it's going to have some one-on-one type of calls and interaction, maybe a group call, and then there'll be a little bit more, then there'll be the ultimate, that we usually offer that's just really personalized, a lot of weekly attention and daily tracking and helping you really maximize, and overcoming the challenges in your life and using them as a force and a source to pull you up and out of wherever you're at. So we'll keep you posted as we develop this, and we're excited to get it put together. We're hoping by the end of the year, as part of our last quarter, one of our last quarter goals for the year. Next time we talk next week, we'll be going officially into our final quarter, the last quarter. So here's your big moment. You have think back throughout the rest of the year and what you've done and where you're at. And today, Alicia and I were sitting down and we were looking through our goals that we had written up for the year, and then we were looking at our quarterly goals to date, seeing what we need to bump into the final quarter and what new ones we want to put there. And we're gearing up, we're ratcheting down, and we're like game on, we're going to dominate. We're not here to compete, so I'm sorry, and don't worry about trying to compete with my goals, or because I'm going for it, and but we're not going to compete because we're all heading the same direction. And so let's use our momentum, our speed, our wind, and let's push each other to all win together and to finish strong, whatever your goal is, whatever area you're at, whatever level you're at, whatever height you're at. Let's push through that and let's keep going up. So y'all have a good night, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching. Good night.